So, not exactly 20 foot up in a tree. Sitting on the ground, which I'm not really liking that, but it is the best setting that I could think of for this video. We are in the edge of a swamp. I've been down here since just a little bit after daylight. And this is a video that is going to be difficult to do for many reasons, but it's got to be done. Today is Thursday. Tomorrow is Friday, which is the 17th of April. And April 17th, 2013, there was an explosion in a town called West Texas. It's below Dallas, kind of between Dallas and Waco. That was 13 years ago. And I was kind of new to the peer support game, and I got sent there by my work. And what a mess. I mean, really. 12 first responders died, 3 civilians. And just like to try to wrap your head around a very small town with a massive explosion, Google it. It was incredible. And I've tried almost every year for 13 years now to go back. I've made great relationships with people there. Normally, I would be on the road driving right now, which is Thursday, but logistical issues there as far as our group of folks that we normally do things with. Last year we went and we'd have a little thing we call the cemetery run. So there's actually YouTube videos on that where we go to each cemetery and honor that. Now, a few weeks before the 10-year anniversary, which was 2023, one of the survivors of the blast, who was a firefighter, his name was Eddie. Eddie ended up getting killed on the interstate. At the end of all of our videos, you will see a thing about West Texas, and you'll see this unusual logo that our oldest son designed. He designed that logo in honor of Eddie. For some people, I get it. They want to go, well, that was then and this is now, and I'm not one of those guys. So since I couldn't be there today or tomorrow, I was like, you know what, I got to do a video. And I'm going to give a brief explanation, the way that my brain processes this. In 1994, I was trying to finish my 4-year degree. I was working full-time as a cop, and I would drive up and down this interstate 3 days a week. A couple hundred miles every other day, basically, trying to finish my degree. And I would drive by this mile marker, and I knew that the trooper had been killed there. And it just kind of bugged me. I didn't know the trooper, didn't know anything about him, but there was this mile marker, and I knew that's where he got shot by this bad guy. And it just bugged me that that was it, just a mile marker, there was nothing. And so in 1995, my bride and I got married, and I was like, weird request for, for a wedding, but I was like, hey, everybody come to the wedding, bring a wreath. And so we went out to the mile marker and took wreaths and, just dropped them over the mile marker and just kind of lined them up. Probably that's against the law, I would imagine. And then I started, for years after that, attaching little flags to the mile marker. And eventually, I don't think I had anything to do with it, but there's a big sign now to honor that spot where that trooper died. For some people, that was odd, especially at the wedding. Like, do you know the guy? Nah, I don't know him. I have issues with that. I think that we need to remember these things, and for some, I get it, that it makes them sad, it puts them, whatever, I get it. But at the same time, it's respect, it's honor. So here is my thing that I've done a video on this, and this is my collection of stuff. And it originally started off very simply with a quarter that I shot from my dad when he was really sick. And I put a hole through it. And he wore that around his neck with some religious medals till the day he died. And that's actually the whole thing with the Roadmap Company. When you look at the roadmap, the R, it's actually a quarter with a hole through it. And then over the years, people have given me stuff. The good majority of the people that have given me this stuff are no longer with us. And I've carried it anywhere you can imagine. Anytime I got on a plane, anytime I traveled, I've actually never taken it to the woods. So today was kind of a cool thing to, load it up in the gator. But I want to remember. I want to remember the guy that, gave his life in Vietnam. The guy who gave his life in Iraq. I want to remember my wife's Aunt Kathy, who gave me this, it's a big ass cross. That's what I called it when she gave it to me. I was like, thanks for the big ass cross. I want to remember all that. I want to remember this one right here, right? Guy at war in Waco, Texas, shot 5 times, survived, but shot 5 times in Waco, Texas. Piece of a plane from a guy who watched the majority of his family die. He survived, and I got a piece of that plane on my keychain here, and the list goes on to include a canine, right? It doesn't put me in a bad place. I just think we owe it to them. That's why we build memorials. That's why we remember Pearl Harbor. We remember September 11th. Yeah, does it make you emotional? Sure, it makes you emotional, but it's not a bad emotional. And so I ask, I'm going to plug in a couple other things, maybe a few pictures of West Texas, but I ask on today's date, don't just dismiss West Texas. Really don't. And there's so many other towns that have tragedies happen. And it's like crossing a railroad tracks, and they just cross them. Take a breather. Think about it. I didn't lose anybody in West. When Eddie died, it was a hit because Eddie survived. We became friends, bestie buddies, but we were friends. And I remember the day that the chief called me when Eddie died. Standing in my backyard. The chief survived the blast. Phenomenal man, love him to death. Picks up the phone, he calls me, and he's like, hey, Josie, blah, blah, blah. He's like, Eddie got killed on the interstate. And I said, okay, chief. And he goes, well, I don't know if there's anything you can really do for us because, we've already been through this once before. We know how this works. And I was like, chief, it's different now. When I came to you 10 years ago, I was a stranger. Now Eddie was my friend. So the tables have turned, right? I'm actually like one of the guys that's getting his ass kicked right now emotionally because I'm going, Eddie got killed. And the chief's like, I see your point. So my role changed from a peer support guy to a guy that might need peer support. So on this day, which is tomorrow, April 17th, take a moment, man. That's all I'm asking. Take a moment, remember the town, and then remember all the other towns. And don't ever hesitate when you run up on somebody and they lost somebody and you're like, well, I don't know what to say. Man, say something. And you're like, well, I don't want to bring it to the front of their forehead. What do you think's on the front of their forehead on April 17th or whatever the date is? It doesn't matter. It's on the front of their forehead. And all you got to do is say, hey, I know what today is. My heart goes out to you. That's simple. It's not a heavy lift. You're not going to mess them up. In fact, you're probably going to make them feel better. So, all that being said, I got to load up this gator. I got to snake back through these woods, and it is going to be a challenge. And I really hope that y'all take a moment today. I really do. Take that moment and any other moment that comes up. So, y'all have a great day. Appreciate the support. And remember West Texas.